This video is sponsored by darkspiderdavid.com. Yes, my own personal website that I just recently launched. Check it out, link is in the description. Contact information, blog posts, possible merch in the future. Take a moment to check it out, much appreciated. Anyways, back to the video. Hey everyone, David here. And no, I am not wearing a picture of my face on my shirt. I've been told that before, it's Jeff Goldblum. Happened before, I don't know why. But I am back again with another Steelbook update. I've been kind of missing these, so I think it's about overdue. And this is another little special edition kind of Steelbook update, so it's not like a general Steelbook update of the ones that I've been adding to my collection by the singular variety. This is actually themed after what I like to call Steelbook sets, whether it be for a television show or a movie, predominantly a series of movies or franchises that are very near and dear to me. Now, right off the cuff, I'm gonna say that I don't necessarily have a lot of sets, but the fact that some of them have quite an awful lot of entries inside of their respective franchises means that there's technically speaking, a significant number of Steelbooks to really cover here. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start off with the Blu-ray, because the majority of these are in 4K now that we're in the modern era, but I do still have one that is beholden to the and restricted to the Blu-ray format. It is for the Spider-Man Legacy double Steelbook set that I have right here. So it's only 2 Steelbooks officially, but it houses 5 movies overall, and this is pretty much all of the Spider-Man movies sans the Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man films up to date. So we have the original Sam Raimi trilogy inside in one of the Steelbooks, specifically the red one, and then we have the Amazing Spider-Man, only 2 movies, inside of the blue Steelbook. Now, of course, me being a Steelbook aficionado and seeing this at the store, I figured I would pick it up in that time because I kind of wanted to mainly have the Sam Raimi trilogy. That's primarily it. But being that it was on sale at the time and it came bundled with all 5 films rather than just the 3, I figured, you know what, screw it, I'll pull a trigger on it. The only thing I'm a little sour on to this day, but since then I have corrected it, is that it's just in Blu-ray. But I did manage to get that 4K trilogy set of the Sam Raimi trilogy that comes in that nice little booklet. But from before that, I had to settle with this Legacy collection, which is still pretty nice. I like the uniformity of the 2 spider logos that are very iconic and symbolic of the 2 versions of this character, whether it be the Sam Raimi one or the Andrew Garfield Mark Webb one. And you can kind of see that reflected here a little bit in the Steelbooks that you see before you. And they come packaged in its own custom-made translucent sleeve that when you remove it, you then have the Steelbooks inside. And kind of etched within that design is, of course, Spidey swinging. Note that the Legacy collection actually uses more so of the Raimi font rather than any of the other movies, so I'm just gonna point that out there and put it there. But I do like that on one side you have the red for the Raimi trilogy, and you even have a shot of the Raimi Spider-Man, along with the other side having the blue spine and the Mark Webb version of the character, along with specs on the bottom. 5 movies on Blu-ray, as it says right there, and with over 40 hours of special features. And before you ask, this does in fact include the 2 alternate cuts of Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3 respectively. You have the 2.1 extended cut and the Spider-Man 3 editor's cut. So you actually have, what is it, 1, 4, 5, 6, 7 technical films inside of this set. Now, the only bummer is that even though it takes those 5 films as well as bonus feature discs and packs them into just two Steelbooks, you're then gonna have, my only little nitpick with this set is that it does have that thing where they make the spindle inside of the pages, so to speak, quote unquote, a little thicker in order to house these discs, but that also means that they're going to be resting on top of each other, so you risk scratching at least one of those discs if you catch yourself kind of spinning them around, or the case is moving a little bit too frequently and you have the discs kind of rotating inside due to gravity. You're going to have a little potential scratching going on right there because they're resting on top of each other, so buyer beware. Next up is another Blu-ray set, but remember when I said I wasn't just going to limit myself to just movies, but also TV shows. It is for Avatar: The Last Airbender, exclusive to Best Buy, and this is the complete series, including books 1, 2, and 3. Still haven't seen the show, but I intend to correct that with this Blu-ray set. I understand it's up on Netflix, there's different ways to access the show, but I figured, you know what? I get a strong feeling I'm going to enjoy this show enough that I will go ahead and commemorate the occasion with a Steelbook set. And this set includes 3 individual Steelbooks for the books that make up the seasons of the show, and each Steelbook is adorned with the characters of the show, as well as the respective elements that those books, kind of revolve around, whether it be the water, earth, or fire. No earth found here, but I think that kind of goes without saying. And interestingly enough, they're housed not necessarily in a deluxe plastic translucent sleeve like the Spider-Man ones were, but rather this cardboard but still pretty rigid container that houses the 3 Steelbooks, along with a nice, you know me, I love me the matte black, along with some cool designs here around the framing, with a cutout allowing you to sport the different covers of the Steelbooks that you see before you here. So if you kind of slide one out and interchange it with the other, you have a different cover or front cover for the box set, so you can kind of customize it at will. And I figured that was actually really cool in and of itself, along with a breakdown of the show itself on the back. And it's housed with also a handful of different special features showcasing the creation of the show and behind the scenes footage and deleted scenes, etc, etc. So nice little bundle deal with Avatar: The Last Airbender, and though I still have not watched the show, I feel like I'm in good hands. Alright, that takes care of the Blu-rays. It's time to bring on the 4K, and I will not be caught in it, but rather showcasing some of these Steelbook sets. Now, it's weird because I'm actually going to start this run of the 4K Steelbook sets with one of the bigger ones, but there's a point, there's an argument that I'm making as to why I'm starting with these and kind of working my way towards some of the more recent Steelbook 4K sets that I've gotten exclusively from Best Buy. Let me start off with one of my finest additions that I'm mostly proud of, the Lord of the Rings Motion Picture Trilogy. So here's the deal. There's another set for The Hobbit, but this is the one specific to the Lord of the Rings trilogy, exclusively from Best Buy. And I understand that right now they're in the process of creating a brand new box set that's, I think, going to be available across different retailers that is the definitive box set to own for every collector to truly commemorate the 20th anniversary of the first film this year, because this was actually released last year along with the initial 4K release of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And here's the deal, I just love when sets like these take an angle and a direction towards some form of uniformity when it comes to its design, its composure, the way it's all kind of brought together here. And they truly made something special with the Lord of the Rings trilogy that I knew I just had to own it because it's rather beautiful. So kind of wrapped around this container here is this cardboard, thin paper cardboard sort of insert that is wrapped around right here, so it holds on actually rather steadfast. But once you remove it, you'll see that basically the back you have your traditional description of the films, the special features, the tech specs, etc, etc, and then wrapped around it you just have the little indicator that this is the Lord of the Rings set in 4K exclusive to Best Buy, and of course reminding you that you are getting the 4K edition along with a digital code for each and every single versions of the film, because this is the Lord of the Rings trilogy that includes both the theatrical and extended editions of all 3 films inside of the set. So I thought that was pretty dope, but what I think is a little doper is just the premium quality of this container here that you see before you. So on both sides you have the Lord of the Rings, the motion picture trilogy, with designs and things kind of taken from the actual architecture and the actual lore of the Lord of the Rings films, taking something right out of the pages of those books that would be inside of Frodo's house in Hobbiton, or Gandalf's little hut with all his different things, or on his wagon. So you see that kind of going on right there on both sides, and then on the top you have another little design of the logo Lord of the Rings trilogy along with one of the famed eagles. And then over on this side, you then have the 3 Steelbooks, and they're held together very firmly inside by this padded foam for protection. And once you remove it, you'll instantly note that each Steelbook is, again, having a uniformal sort of design, but specifically tailored and color-coded to each and every single film. So obviously you have green for Fellowship, red for Two Towers, and then blue for Return of the King, with images on the front and on the back that are indicative of that film. And each Steelbook just has that matte finish with the credits of the film on the back. And I just love the Steelbook set. I love them. I just say what you want about the actual 4K transfers of the films. I know they're kind of debatable as far as quality and contrast and color, but this Steelbook set is one of the finest things that I own, and I'm glad that I was able to nab them before they officially sold out. The only problem I will probably bring up is one that's gonna become a little bit of a norm going this point forward, is that there are caveats to getting these exclusive Steelbooks, and one of them is actually that the majority of the time and the majority of these Steelbook sets that I've gotten from Best Buy unfortunately omit a Blu-ray edition housed inside them. So you predominantly get just the 4K version of the film and a digital code. And so if you ever wanted to share that Blu-ray disc with a friend or a family member, then unfortunately they're either going to have to get themselves a 4K player with a 4K TV so they can get that proper quality, or bust. However, there is a slight little funny anecdote that I have for that Lord of the Rings set, is that it's not the first one that comes in a very similarly looking housing for the foam padding and the protection that it offers to the Steelbooks. It was actually for the Harry Potter franchise set in 4K that I have right here, exclusive to Best Buy, each with its own individual Steelbook. Now you notice again that the design of the casing and the container here is very almost identical to that of the Lord of the Rings one, and that's a theme that Best Buy was having quite a bit with an awful lot of these franchises that they were giving the Steelbook treatment to, and this is no exception. It's the Harry Potter 8 film collection, so you have 1 through part 2 of Deathly Hallows all in here, each Steelbook with its own little design, again symbolic of the film that it represents, and still retaining a form of uniformity with the logo in the corner, some kind of image that represents the film, a similar one in the back, and then of course the 4K copies inside. No Blu-ray edition. Unfortunately, this is where that trend started to start making its footing. So we just have the 4K editions of the films, some special features, and then the codes for each individual film. Actually, I take it back. There are no special features. That's another thing that may happen from time to time, is that some of these sets not only don't have any Blu-ray versions of the films, but no special features for them either. They've kind of bounced back and forth, and Best Buy is a little selective as to which films get special features versus some that don't. I would imagine that maybe the ones where they try to focus more so on the translation of the film or the transfer of the film from Blu-ray to 4K, and there's quite a few entries inside franchise, those are probably the ones that get the omission of the special features, because it looks like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings are probably the two defining ones, because you're dealing with the extended editions of the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and then you're dealing with 8 fucking films, really lengthy films, here in these 4K versions. So that's practically what you end up with here. But if you're a Harry Potter fan, you owe yourself to at least own the series to some capacity, and I knew that I had to go with 4K, especially when it was announced that there was going to be a Steelbook set for Harry Potter. And this is a nice looking box, very metallic, very premium finish with the foaming inside. But of course, it's got the matte finish on the Steelbook designs itself, as well as the Hogwarts logo on the sides. And then lastly, you have the iconic Harry Potter logo on the back with the Hogwarts logo. And it's just something that looks very fine on the mantelpiece, especially if you're a Steelbook collector or a Harry Potter fan. Okay, so there is a specific reason as to why I showed those two sets first before I wrap things up, because though those are my biggest Steelbook sets thus far, that would mean that it would make more sense for me to end with those sets, end on a high note. But there's a point to be made here, and it's a point that may have a legitimate reason, and that reason could be that maybe resources and materials are a little bit short, and funding due to the COVID pandemic. But we're kind of on the up and up when it comes to this pandemic. I know it's technically still in action, but things are technically looking a little bit better. So here's to hoping that no shortcuts are going to be taken with the premium quality of these Steelbook sets. Because now I'm about to show you the last 2 sets that have gone for 2 defining franchises that I absolutely love and are a part of my filmmaking culture. But to see the quality kind of dip a little bit in these Steelbook sets, it's a little disheartening. Back to the Future trilogy set. So something's looking a little scaled down here. Though I absolutely adore the trilogy of Back to the Future with all my heart, it looks like Best Buy is just taking a little step back, considering that last year was the official 35th anniversary of the film, at least the first film. And so here we have the 3 Steelbooks for the Back to the Future trilogy in 4K, and this time, to kind of at least offset things and balance them out, you do get an included Blu-ray copy of the film, digital codes for all 3 films, as well as quite a decent amount of special features within each Blu-ray disc. So in terms of substance, there's definitely a lot to chew on, but when it comes to style is where things are a little taken aback. First and foremost, there's something going on with the theme of the Steelbooks themselves. As you can tell, there's a little bit of a piecing puzzle thing going on with each Steelbook having an individual portion of the DeLorean, and I don't think I even have it matched up. I knew it. I knew this was going to happen. But as you can see, each Steelbook has an image on the front that has a part of the DeLorean vehicle. And it's only by lining up all 3 Steelbooks that then showcases the entirety of the DeLorean time-traveling machine with Marty inside. And in the background, you see the different environment changing to each film as we travel from 1955 to 2015 and 1885 in part 3. Yeah, that's cool and all, except I personally have never been a huge fan of this design of sets. It doesn't necessarily have to be just the Steelbooks, but also with other collective sets of films or even video games that I have seen in the past, whether it be through Best Buy, Amazon, Target, you name it. I just never been a huge fan of this kind of design. I get what they're trying to do. I get the little game that they're playing, but I could be linked to my OCD somehow. I don't know, but it's just never been on my good side whenever a Steelbook set does this, because now if I don't have one, I feel incomplete without the other by default. So I get what they're trying to do here, but if anything, I would probably display the Steelbook set with its backsides, where you have this iconic image of Marty and Doc witnessing their successful experiment of the DeLorean. You have Marty escaping Griff's gang here in 2015, and then you have Marty during his showdown in part 3. This seems like a little more like it. But that's not my biggest issue. My biggest issue is that you guys noticed how premium that housing was for the Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter set? This is what we got for Back to the Future. It's a cardboard box with the design here on the front that is very badly photoshopped, along with a traditional design on the back showcasing the specs, description of the films, and the special features. That's really about it. I mean, you have a couple of little dividers here to make sure that your Steelbooks are not scratching, but nevertheless, I will be putting some protectors on these regardless, because during some kind of moving out or earthquake, this ain't gonna do shit. And that's not the fate that I want in store for my Back to the Future trilogy. At that point, I will need a DeLorean myself. And that leaves me with my last Steelbook set for this video, but also the most recent that I've acquired. And that's for the movie that turns 40, or at least the first film turns 40 this year. And knowing that knowledge made me very certain that not only a 4K restoration of the trilogy was in store, but also a potential Steelbook edition from Best Buy. And call me Nostradamus, because I was right. Here I have the Steelbook edition for the 4K set of Indiana Jones. and they went with a very clean looking color palette that is really pleasant to look at, and it's, you know, very at home with Indy. You definitely have quite a bit of orange in line with the initial logo, but also white to kind of give it that more adventurous feel, that more lighthearted feel, reminding us of the good old times of watching one of our favorite heroes go on his adventure, winning that treasure and saving the day. And so here we have the collection for the Indiana Jones movies. This has all 3 Indiana Jones films: Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, Last Crusade. Comes with a bonus disc to be able to watch some of the special features, and a free coaster. And speaking to my love for uniformity, each Steelbook has that color palette, as well as a very thematic look on the front for each film. And on the back of each Steelbook, you also have each MacGuffin, if you will, for each respective film, to then again give it that overall theme and overall look that's just very pleasant to look at and line up one next to the other. And though it has a much more glossy finish that I would have liked, I still again love the class and the design and the uniformity of all of these. I guess eventually I'm gonna have to say it, all 4 of these Steelbooks, where you have all of them just completely in line with each other, and it's very satisfying to look at. What's even more awesome is upon opening each Steelbook, you'll notice that you have a backdrop that utilizes Drew Struzan's original designs for each of those films' posters. So having that still be kept alive inside is just, oh my god, it's every film lover's dream, and it's every Indiana Jones' fan's dream to own this series of Steelbooks, specifically in good condition, because I do know that this is sadly one of the Steelbook sets that Best Buy, I don't know if it's maybe because of shortness of staff with COVID or what the things are going on, but these are collector's items. Please treat them as such. I understand you might not be having a good day, you might not having a good week, and things might be down for virtually everybody on Earth right now, but you have the power to make someone's day. And one of those elements that can make a collector's day is making sure that their Indiana Jones set is either not cut up or tarnished or dented. And I got the better end of the stick, because we do have a little bit of dentage going on here on the top of the box. But on the other hand, that might have not been a situation that would have happened if we once again did not resort to just using cardboard box for the housing of these really premium quality Steelbooks. Kind of going back to what I was saying about Back to the Future. You have a very iconic franchise, and in the past we have seen these Steelbooks being housed in a sponged up, foamy, premium quality metallic box to give it that extra oomph, and now we are resorting to Nintendo Labo leftovers. Not only that, but this time the dividers aren't even firmly attached. They can actually be kind of removed because it's just one big folded up piece being used as a divider for each Steelbook. And though it does offer just a little bit more protection than the dividers in the Back to the Future one, still pretty flimsy feeling, and it's not necessarily what I really want to invest in for a rather pricey collector's item like the Indiana Jones series on Steelbook, especially for one of the franchises that's near and dear to me. But thankfully, just like with Back to the Future, there's quite a bit of substance here. You have the movies, you have the special features, as well as the code for the digital copies. Unfortunately, no Blu-ray this time around, but at least we got the special features. So if you're a fan of the movies, you're probably going to be a fan of how they made the movies as well. And ladies and gentlemen, that is it, at least for now, as far as my Steelbook sets for specific franchises or TV shows are concerned. I know that there's still room to grow. At one point I was considering, despite its ending, picking up the Game of Thrones Steelbook set, all in 4K at Best Buy, because it was on a really good sale, but it was during my unemployment time, so I figured I'd do the smart thing, save up on the money, and I do know that there is a chorus set just like this one here for Avatar, so there's definitely room to grow as far as these sets are concerned. But so far my prime focus when it comes to Steelbook collecting is more so on the individual film or show rather than these big beefy books, because often they either fall casualty to bad shipping, or now we could be in a dark area where they might be retaining a little bit on that premium quality to save on a few cents. And Only time will tell if we're ever going to see this age again as far as Steelbook sets that give as much as they can get with the premium quality and the premium kind of assortment of these Steelbooks that makes it a delight to own some of these things. So anyways, that is it for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of the collections that you kind of see here before you. Which one of these do you own, or what kind of Steelbooks do you guys own of your own? I don't know what that was. But anyways, guys, like the video if you liked it, dislike if you didn't, share, comment, subscribe for more Steelbook update videos like this or other content coming to the channel soon. Make sure to follow me on Twitch. I stream on Mondays, Thursdays, and any part of the weekend that I feel like it. And I hope to see you guys there. In the meantime, though, stay safe and stay humble.